Hi, Nick Davis here again, and this time as a follow-up to the previous video on sections 2 and 3 of the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. We're going to have a more specific look at section 2 brackets 2 brackets C. Now this is something which is known as a subsection. It's quite an important element of health and safety, as this applies to the training of employees in relation to health and safety matters. Now, as stated before, section 2 of the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 covers the general duties of employers towards their employees, and it certainly applies where there is a risk to their staff. And this would certainly include people who work in frontline roles where there might be a need to use a reasonable force, such as physical intervention skills, because there is a risk of being exposed to work-related violence in some form or another. So again, let's see what this is all about. Now, section 2 brackets 2 actually includes a range of matters in which employers have duties to their employees, including such things as safe plants or systems of work, etc., which employers must make provision for as far as is reasonably practicable. And again, we might revisit aspects of this in future videos. However, it's actually section 2 brackets C of the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 which we're specifically concerned with here. And this states the following. So this is the actual 2 brackets 2 bit. Without prejudice to the generality of an employer's duty under the preceding subsection, the matters to which that duty extends include in particular, and this is what C says, the provision of such information, instruction, training and supervision as is necessary to ensure, so far as is reasonably practicable, the health and safety at work of his employees. So to summarise, what the law is stating here is that employers must provide information, instruction, training and supervision as is necessary to ensure the health and safety at work of his employees. So in other words, the employer must ensure that employees have all the necessary information to ensure their health and safety when carrying out their work, that they have been correctly instructed and trained in the tasks they need to undertake, and also that they are appropriately supervised when undertaking this work. And this is as is necessary so far as is reasonably practicable. Now, if you watched my previous video, you might recall the term as far as is reasonably practicable. And again, what reasonably practicable means is that if it is reasonable that the action can be taken, then it must be done. As I said before, this effectively comes down to something known as risk versus cost. So if the risk of not doing something is higher than the cost of taking the action to reduce the risk, then it is reasonably practicable to take the action despite the cost, and this must be done. However, if nothing is done and the risk is ignored, then if something happens down the line where an employee is injured or worse, killed, then there could potentially be a breach of section 2 which will result in the employer committing an offence and being held to account. So what section 2 brackets C is saying is that if it is necessary and reasonably practicable for the purposes of ensuring the health and safety of the employees, in other words where the risk outweighs the cost, then they need to have the correct information, instruction, training and supervision in order to do their job safely. And this applies to violence at work risks, where the risk outweighs the cost as much as any other health and safety issue. So if staff are expected or required to intervene in incidents and potentially put themselves and their colleagues at risk as a result of doing so, or maybe even attend situations where they are at risk of being exposed to potential violence, then they need to be properly trained to do so, as well as be properly supervised, etc. It's simply not good enough for a manager to say that it is too expensive or inappropriate to do so. Now, a recent development that has even more of a bearing on this is the recent Supreme Court ruling regarding the concept known as vicarious liability. This legal concept has actually been extended as a result of this ruling, so that the liability which employers have with regards to the actions of their employees and other persons connected with their business, such as contractors, has actually increased. This is something which all employers, but especially providers and commissioners of training, need to take note of, as they are even more likely to be held to account if something goes wrong. So as a result of this, it's now even more crucial that employers have appropriate policies, procedures and risk assessments in place, as well as ensuring that the staff have appropriate and effective training. Indeed, to find out more about this, Mark Dawes of NFPS has produced an excellent video about this extension, and a link for this will be coming up very soon. So that's about it for sections 2.2c of the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. As ever, if you have any questions about this video or any of the other subjects covered in the other videos here, then you're very welcome to contact me on mail@nicholas-davis.com, and I'll try and answer them as best as I can. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.